What's going on, everybody? Ninja Star here, and today we are back at it again with our Attack on Titan video for you all. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Yeah, I couldn't really find time or motivation to make videos, and forcing myself wouldn't have bettered the quality. So that's why I took a hiatus to really self-reflect and get my priorities straight. Now I'm back, and let's hope I don't go on another long break for a while. But yeah, the video itself. I recently caught up to the Attack on Titan manga, and I have to say it's one of my favorite series out there. I love the new direction the story's been headed in, and delving more into the complex, mysterious, and cruel world. Thanks to Isayama's foreshadowing, now seen in hindsight, I've actually gained more of an appreciation for some of the older story arcs. On first watch, they may have just seemed alright, but in hindsight, they set up a lot of important things for the story moving forward. And in this video, I want to reflect on some of those favorite story arcs, manga and anime, which means there's going to be manga spoilers for all you anime only, so be advised. And since the unnamed final arc is still going on in the manga, I've decided to keep that out of this list for now. But it's been great, and honestly, it would take the #1 spot if the arc continues to be as good as it has been. Without further ado, let's jump into number 5. Starting off the list, we have the Battle of Trust District, or the Struggle for Trust, depending on which version you experienced. Out of all the stuff in Season 1, this episode lineup was probably my favorite. Upon graduating from the training corps and being placed into the set factions, starting off on a pretty good note, we're greeted by the Colossal Titan. And this was one shocking of a reveal / cliffhanger. This is the first battle since that fateful day, and wow, was it a battle. We're seeing comrades die to the hands of these horrible titans, really showing the terror of them, arguably even more than the first episode. The stakes are high, and just when things couldn't get any more intense, Eren sacrificed himself to save Armin. Then upon dealing with one of the bigger titans, we understand that Eren has somehow become a titan. This is some insanity going on at the time, and we get to see how humanity can actually make a comeback by the end. It's through the boulder scene that we don't feel as lost in despair anymore, and how we can actually use Eren's titan form as an advantage. There's a sense of hope sparked into the Survey Corps despite all the losses. We also get Mikasa's flashback during the arc and why she feels so connected to Eren. This arc really nailed the despair and hope found commonly throughout the series. It's still very memorable and always stuck out to me. For what it packs so early on, the second story arc in the manga, I definitely want to include it into the top 5. I know many people prefer the female Titan arc, and I like it too. Heck, I'd probably make it number 6, but the great introduction to the antagonist of the series, as well as invoking a sense of hope and optimism, really make me love this arc. Next up, we have the Uprising arc for number 4. Some people would put this higher, and I totally understand that. It feels so personal, and I love the different atmosphere with this. A political thriller to develop the characters and explain some of the lore surprisingly really works for Attack on Titan. Not every arc needs to be super action-packed with the Titan action going. It can be personal, be on a smaller scale to illustrate the complexity of this world. It isn't just humans versus Titans anymore, it's humans versus humans. Oh, and Titans, even though Titans are basically humans. Ideas or concepts you may have overlooked before are now a focus, and an intriguing one at that. Having to gain back the previously supporting people's trust and to expose the frauds partially responsible for why things are so miserable is an interesting new plot point. We also get more screen time for Historia, and her past was explored. She's more independent here, and the previously sweet, perfect angel we thought of before is more human than we think, and flawed. I like her getting more attention, and the same goes for the already beloved character Levi. It's nice to see his past with Kenny, a fun, chaotic element to the arc, as well as Erwin's. Oh, and Kenny's past. Oh, and how could I forget? The connection between royalty and the Titans. We finally get the full, or at least half, of the Grisha, Eren, and royal family story. How he obtained the Titans, the two sides to the story, and how Eren reacts to this. His breakdown after feeling useless allows development for his character moving forward. He really does mature after this, and you don't see as much of the immature child. Now you truly see the campaigner and adult responsible for humanity's future. And the manga version, in my opinion, was better for this arc. I hate to sound elitist or whatever, but the pacing in the anime may have been a bit better, but I kind of prefer the manga's inclusion of certain scenes which allow bridges to be made with character interactions, but that's just me. After this, we have an arc which I have quite a bit of bias for. Number 3, the Clash of Titans arc. Probably the best adapted in the anime as well. Obviously the big highlight of this arc is the traitor twist, but I still appreciate the early stuff. The Beast Titan just drops and is like, hey. Sasha gets a great episode really exploring her character and what made her who she is. Fighting the Titans at night in the castle was pretty interesting, suspenseful, and a different take on fighting Titans. I like the focus not just being on Eren, Mikasa, and Armin. And then Ymir being a Titan was a pretty wow moment. I actually like her backstory being revealed while her character still being prominent, as opposed to in Return to Shiganshina where she doesn't really show up. It adds some nice closure to her character at a more appropriate time. And then we get the amazing Reiner and Bertolt reveal, followed by one of my favorite fights in the series, and the exploration of Reiner's identity crisis. He feels torn between a soldier and a warrior, but true colors are now seen, and being betrayed is not exactly Eren's favorite thing. After this, we get an awesome battle, with the corpse trying to regain Eren versus the armored and mindless Titans. It gets you on the edge of your seat with stuff like Eren not being able to transform when a Titan's right there. The voice acting was absolutely amazing, whether it be Mikasa's confession, Eren's frustration, Reiner's conflict and intensity, etc. And Eren stopping the fight and turning the tables on the battle may have seemed a bit weird at first, but in hindsight, it's explained pretty well. Once again, foreshadowing the connection between royalty, Titans, controlling Titans, etc. And rip Hannes. His sacrifice was very powerful, and I feel like a lot of people do kind of forget about that one. I mean, honestly, we knew the dude from episode 1, and to see him go out like this, I think it was a great way to go out. And how could I forget Connie? Poor Connie. We feel really bad for him in this arc, with his mother being turned into a Titan, his horror at finding out this fact, but it allows us to see the huge revelation at the end of this arc. All Titans are originally human. Pretty big plot point. Now, number 2 and number 1 might go back and forth for people, but as far as my ranking, I have the Marley arc for the number 2 spot. After learning more about the world and the land outside the walls, we actually get to explore it present day. 4 years after the Return to Shiganshina arc, we actually don't begin with the people on Pradis. We get a connection with the Marley warriors and the conflicts occurring in their everyday life. The previously despised Reiner is pretty beloved here, and this is a different society than what we're used to. At least, at first. Political conflicts like in the Uprising arc are present here, once again adding some complexity. Reiner's backstory and the journey of the warriors in Pradis was nice to see as well. Gabi, Zeke, Reiner, Falco, Galliard, Colt, and Piek are really fascinating characters with their own motivations, quirks, and goals in mind. And the Eren reveal was... wow, that just came out of left field, but it was so... like, when that happens, you just go, wow. I know I say wow a lot, but this was definitely up there with some of the best moments in the series. He just confronts Reiner, and Reiner is in awe. Just when you think things couldn't get crazier with the declaration of war and Eren being a target for the island, he massacres the festival, resulting in a really epic battle between the far more mature Eren and the Survey Corps against Marley Titans and the Marley people. You, the reader, actually feel a bit bad for Marley, considering Eren just took away innocent lives of people you were getting a bit of an attachment to. Sasha's death is depressing as well, and at this point, everyone seems to be in a morally gray area. It allows, once again, for some more depth in this series, which I always appreciate. It isn't just black and white anymore, as we assumed earlier in the series. I appreciate the world building found in this arc, alongside great returns for beloved heroes. This segues well into the final arc, and you could even argue the impact of what Eren did on Marley is like what the Colossal Titan did in the first episode. Alright, I think you guys all know this. The Return to Shiganshina arc is obviously number 1. Oh my gosh, this arc, I cannot wait to see it animated, bro. I don't think they'll cut as much stuff out like in the Uprising arc, because how could you cut some of this stuff out? We start off with actually one of my favorite chapters or episodes in the series, Keith's backstory. He was a character we hadn't really thought of much since the first season. But then we get to see how he's felt like a bystander his whole life and what made this strict instructor the way he is. You feel so bad for his somewhat relatable struggle, and the ending of this episode surely made me emotional, really relaying one of Eren's main ideologies after the Uprising arc alongside a big theme of the show. We see more Grisha at the beginning of this arc, and then a ton of Grisha at the end with the basement reveal. Kinda poetic, isn't it? But we go into this arc anticipating an epic battle, and boy do we get one. With strategies and plans made, iconic character moments, consequences and twists, and epic fights, this is like the Marineford of Attack on Titan. This was a great send-off for Erwin, and his moment of invoking spirit back into the soldiers is bone-chilling. I can't wait to hear it with voice acting in the anime. This isn't all losses though. The victories we do get are well-deserved thanks to the introduction of Thunder Spears, allowing more utility of scout regiments instead of just being the Titan show. Armin's moment of bravery to see the seas, as mentioned in the Uprising arc, still sends chills down my spine, and the fight for who gets the serum has so much tensity in the atmosphere despite no actual fighting. And him becoming a Titan was one heck of a twist. Ending off the arc, we have the basement reveal, a mystery that's been around since episode 1. Boy is it packed. The land and life of those outside of the walls is super interesting and sets up well for the upcoming arc after this. We got nearly everything in the flashbacks, from the makings of the Titans to even how Eren got his name. Grisha has one of the best backstories in the series, and even when the main battle was over, I didn't lose interest. Eren, Armin, and Mikasa finally seeing the ocean is a beautiful moment and send-off for the arc, and will be a great stopping point for Season 3. So that's been my video talking about the top 5 Attack on Titan arcs. I really do love this series, man. It's definitely risen up to be one of my favorites as the story just gets better and better. What are your guys' top 5 Attack on Titan arcs? I know it kind of varies based on person to person. Some people would probably have the female Titan arc in their top 5. Like I mentioned, that was like number 6 for me, and maybe the order around for a lot of these would switch around for you guys, but it's just my personal, what I enjoyed the most ordering of the arcs. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell, all the generic stuff. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.